Regular season wrapped up with the Forest Wood Open. Today you'll meet the champion and hear from the always entertaining Dan Morehead, your newest Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year. The final event helped many anglers secure a slot in the lucrative $1.5 million FLW Tour Championship. Also today we'll recap the thrilling 2003 season and a highlight feature you won't want to miss. It all starts right now on FLW Outdoors. Hello, everyone, and welcome to FLW Outdoors. I'm Carlton Wing with Larry Nixon and Taylor Carr, and we're joining you from Florence, Alabama, the site of the final regular season event of the FLW Tour. And guys, a lot happened this weekend in Florence.
Well, the Angler of the Year race got real interesting. Dan Morehead had a lead, Larry, but not an insurmountable lead, and he had to really fish on day two.
Let me tell you something. He scared everybody the first day when he come in there with 9 pounds. You know, everybody thought 9 pounds would be decent. Well, it turned out to be about 105th, and he left it wide open for David or Clark or just anybody to catch fish, which they didn't do.
That's right, he left the door open, nobody walked through it, so day two, Dan shuts that door completely. Here's a look at your final Angler of the Year points race. Dan Morehead out in front, 1,048 points. David Dudley in second place, 47 points, so he expanded his margin right there. Clark went up, made a run, just 2 points back, falls into third place. Tommy Biffle with an incredible performance, making the final round, secures 4th position, in the rookie out of Oklahoma, Tim Carroll, number 5.
And we have to congratulate our broadcast partner. You have won everything in the world of fishing, and you fished well this year, finishing 8th, making the championship for the 7th straight year. Congratulations.
Well, I had to, let me tell you something, I had to catch them, guys. You two would never have let me live that down had I not caught fish this time.
It would have been a long off season for you.
That's right, and you know, 8th's not bad. It's not first, but that's a good season.
8th is outstanding.
Let's talk about the tournament at hand now. The Forest Wood Open, $200,000 on the line for these anglers, and for the first time in a long time, we didn't have any major weather conditions blowing in and really changing things up. It was kind of normal fishing here.
That's right. It was actually pretty stable. You know, we had clouds all practice and in the first 2 or 3 days of competition, and no major fronts, no big blows, and no cold rain.
You know, it was way different from when you won here a year ago, February.
That's right. It was more of a stable tournament, and fish were in a lot of different areas, and there was a lot of different patterns that you could catch them on.
All right, let's look back on the Forest Wood Open 2003 and the anglers who caught fish in lots of different ways.
Lake Wheeler, Day 1.
The man to watch at the Forest Wood Open, Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year leader Dan Morehead. Because of the tight points race, yes, and also because he knows the Tennessee River system and showed how to catch a limit within 37 minutes of takeoff. Maybe he'd lock it up on day 1. Morehead was fishing First Creek, while much of the field fished the popular Decatur Flats, a 7-mile stretch where the river gets wide and shallow, holding grass beds that often produce quality fish. It's where Ranger Pro Rob Kilby caught a 3-pounder on his way to a limit and 40th place at the end of day 1. Getting a limit wasn't hard, but a quality bite was tough.
There's a lot of people catching a lot of 2.5 pounders, but catching a 4.5 to 5 pound fish really is what's putting you up over that 15-pound range. So I was fortunate to get that today.
Chevy Pro Tommy Biffle surprised people by fishing deep and doing it so well that he had the day 1 lead with 18 pounds 13 ounces. The Angler of the Year race got real interesting because Morehead failed to add much to his limit and weighed only 814, only good for 106th place.
Lake Wheeler, Day 2.
On day 2, Biffle did it again, with 19 more pounds to lead all qualifiers by almost 7 pounds. Joining Biffle in the 10-man finals, Timmy Horton, Dion Hibden, Chad Cook, and Bill Chapman, along with Keith Williams, Dale Teeney, Kevin VANDAM, Aaron Martins, and Scott Martin. David Dudley kept the drama alive in the Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year race, but Dan Morehead brought in 11 more pounds and claimed his first season title. Later in the show, Dan talks to our Larry Nixon.
Lake Wheeler, Day 3.
For the 2-day final round, the 10 who survived the cut start over at 0. The most popular destination once again was Decatur Flats, where so many tournaments on Wheeler are won or lost. Tommy Biffle's day had an interesting start when he broke his rod in the process of catching his first keeper. His hot hand faded on day 3 with only 4 keepers and a drop to 9th place. Not far from the flats, Aaron Martins was tying on a Konami flash, and it was working. His 4th keeper came at 831 and gave him 5 pounds. A few minutes later, he'd switched to a flat-billed crankbait for his 5th fish. Martins was the first angler with a limit.
Oh, what a big fish. Oh, my goodness.
We're about to hear from local favorite Timmy Horton of Muscle Shoals. Horton's fourth fish is a 3.5 pounder, and it comes on a booyah jig. It puts him at the 10-pound mark.
All right, Alex.
But Horton's not done. 10 minutes later, he's connected again. He's got 5 keepers, and with 14 pounds, he's in the lead. By the end of day 3, Horton still tops the leaderboard, followed by Martin, VANDAM, and Cook.
Lake Wheeler, day 4.
When tournament leader Timmy Horton took off on day 4 under the watchful gaze of Tony the Tiger, he knew 4 other finalists were within 5 pounds of his total, well within striking distance on a body of water like Lake Wheeler. Aaron Martins was closest to Horton, just 2.5 pounds back. But Scott Martin, Kevin VANDAM, and newcomer Chad Cook were close enough to set their sights on the Forestwood Open's big prize of $200,000. But little did the leaders know that Keith Williams hadn't given up. Even though he was over 8.5 pounds off the lead, Williams had a new area and new confidence quickly. The Land O'Lakes pro lit up his area to the tune of 5 keepers in 14 minutes for a total weight of 12 pounds. He was culling by 6:53 and would turn in over 17 pounds, the largest sack of the day. Williams improved to 3rd place, good for $50,000. Kevin VANDAM was culling just before 8 a.m., but he never landed the big bite and finished 4th. This tournament came down to California's Aaron Martins, a finalist last year at Wheeler, and local favorite Timmy Horton from Muscle Shoals. Horton caught his fish in 2 spurts. A flurry beginning at 7 o'clock landed 4 keepers for 7.5 pounds. Then at 9:45, Horton finished his limit and culled 1. Then his bite clamped shut. Meanwhile, Martins was busy where no other finalists were fishing. His best fish came when barge traffic created waves near his spot.
That's a barge fish.
He landed his 3 best keepers on consecutive casts just before 10 o'clock. Martins had a better stringer than Horton, but was it enough to overcome Horton's lead?
2 fish here. He needs 3 pounds, 7 ounces. He has 2 fish that weigh 2 pounds, 12 ounces. Aaron Martins is their champion.
Looking at the Forestwood Open through the numbers of the Stanley stats, 10 is the number of states represented by our 10 finalists. Such geographic diversity as California, Michigan, Florida, and Arkansas boast the increased reach of professional fishing. 39% is the frequency of top 10s Kevin VANDAM makes at each FLW tournament he enters. Amazing. 4 finalists needed their big performance at Lake Wheeler to secure entry in the FLW Tour Championship. Scott Martin, Keith Williams, Dion Hibden, and Aaron Martins. Tommy Biffle won the Shopback Clean Sweep Award for the best qualifying round weight of just over 38 pounds. And Keith Williams proved he is the comeback kid, charging from 30th place on day 1 to make the cut and earn the Energizer Keeps On Going award. He also moved from 6th place to 3rd on the final day. In our Fuji Fine Pick segment, we feature tomorrow's anglers. Here, Castrol pro Bobby Curtis shows off one of his keepers to his son, Lincoln. At every FLW event, a local Chevrolet dealer hosts Chevy Pro Night, where young fans can meet their favorites like Jimmy Houston, Larry Nixon, and Kevin VANDAM. Just after Dan Morehead found out he had secured Angler of the Year, he shared the joy with one of his favorite fans, his daughter, Sarah. Everyone from the young to the young at heart loves seeing the Tony the Tiger balloon at the launch on day 4. And speaking of inspiring sights, Aaron Martins loves seeing this in the back of his truck, a $200,000 check as the newest winner on the FLW Tour.
Coming up next on FLW Outdoors, Larry talks with a man who had a long battle for the Angler of the Year title, Dan Morehead. This week's Field and Stream trivia question is about the Land O'Lakes Angler of the Year title. Which of these anglers has not won Angler of the Year? David Walker, Kevin VANDAM, Rick Clunn. Your Field and Stream trivia answer, it's Rick Clunn. He's appeared in as many FLW finals as anyone, but he's never won Angler of the Year.
You could be, time we finish tomorrow afternoon, leading for Angler of the Year.
No, I will be.
Dan Morehead didn't mess around, did he? Dan Morehead from Paducah, Kentucky.
Welcome back to FLW Outdoors, and with me now I've got the Land of Lakes Angler of the Year, Dan Morehead. What an incredible season you've had, bud.
Thank you, Larry. It has. Made it interesting there at the end, didn't I?
Yes, you did. I'm going to tell you right now, I know you was drawed up Friday, or let's see, Thursday, I guess it was, the second day of competition. You had to be a nervous wreck.
Well, I was and I wasn't. I was more mad than I was nervous. You know, I had a pretty fair practice. I was catching quite a few fish. I wasn't catching the quality of fish that obviously the top 10 guys were, but you know, I caught 22 keepers the first day of competition. I just had 1 2-pound bite. You know, I felt pretty confident in catching 10 or 11 pounds the second day. It was, you know, when you fish that grass, it's kind of like Russian roulette. You don't ever know.
That's right, but I do know that you was catching a lot of your fish on one of your favorite techniques that probably got you through to win Angler of the Year.
I have told my wife and my father and my mother, I've waited for a lot of years to have a chance to use that technique in a big tournament, and it pretty well, it pulled it through. I caught most all my fish on a jig. I caught a lot of my fish also on a Texas rigworm.
That did you good this week.
Yeah, well, we've got a mutual friend that taught me how to do this. But I believe, you know, we did a show on it earlier in the year, but I was slacklining a jig. I was fishing it on deeper structure. A lot of the fish I was catching was anywhere from 15 to 20 foot deep. And it worked out well.
Yes, you did. You did good. You had a great season, and I'd like you to kind of lead me back through the year. The first event was Okeechobee, and you finished
third.
Third place at Okeechobee.
And yeah, in the Florida Winter Bowl Fest. I had a great week. I'm off to a good year. I plan to win the Jacobs Cup. I'm all for it.
Then we go to the Atchafalaya Basin in February, and
yeah, I ended up 23rd. I had a real good tournament. I should have. I had the fish on to make the top 10 in that one. I just didn't capitalize and put them in the boat. I lost 6 fish the first day. That kind of cost me.
Good grief. Then we go to Murray, and you wind up 8th place at Murray.
I like being on top, but you know, we still got 3 to go, so we just got to wait and see what happens.
Could be the year for Dan Morehead.
It could be.
Well, there's 2 out of 3 top 10s, and then we go to Beaver, and you win that one.
First
I
place,
think you won that one.
Yeah. Now this one I want. I've been denied the last 2, but we're gonna go for this one. We're gonna do this a little different than we did at Murray. This time I'm gonna win. This has been a year that I hope I never wake up. Whatever I'm doing, I hope I keep doing it, you know, and just ride it right on into the Jacobs Cup.
Then we go to your place where I expected you to have a fantastic tournament, and Mother Nature kind of throwed you a giant curveball.
It did. You know, I fished that lake for almost 30 years, and I've only seen it that high one other time. But again, it's like a Atchafalaya Basin. I can't complain. I had the bites to qualify again. I don't think I could have won, but the second day I had the fish flipping deep bushes, and I just couldn't get them out. They'd wrap around those little green limbs in the bushes, and I couldn't pull them free. But
you still had a good tournament there. Made a check at Kentucky Lake, 40.
Well, actually, it's 55th.
55th at Kentucky Lake, and then we came here to Wheeler, and you had a tough time the first day, but you did go out and catch enough the second day that you moved back in the money.
Yeah, I went from 106 to 68, and so you know, that was nice. I wanted to end the year out on a good note, get a check, and then I also beat David Dudley by 47 points. So
that's the main thing, to beat that guy in second place. I don't care who it is, you just want to beat him.
That's right.
Well, that's a tremendous season, and I'm really proud of you, and I know you're proud of that trophy, and you know, I can take it home with me now if you don't mind.
I have had a place reserved on the top of my TV for 3 months for this trophy. It is going home today.
Congratulations on being Angler of the Year, Dan Morehead, and I know your daddy is just tickled to death. Doc Morehead is a great fisherman and probably one of your greatest fans. And
he's my faithful shadow is what I like to call him. Yeah, he's smiling ear to ear.
I know he is.
Mom is too.
And when we come back, we'll be with Keith Williams. With me now, I've got our third place finisher, Keith Williams, and he's from Conway, Arkansas, and one of these young fishermen that I'm really proud of. Keith, you had one of them tournaments that was so close, and you had a bad day the first day, and to come back and finish third in this event, you really had a tremendous catch yesterday. What did you do to catch them bass yesterday?
I went deeper, and I fished an area of the lake that I knew it had potential to have a lot of fish. It had a lot of bait fish in there, and so I went deeper. I knew what I was doing out there on the flat to get me to the finals wasn't working for me, because I fished out there way too long without any bites the third day. I knew I had to do something different, and I had that one spot to go check, and I haven't fished it that early yet, and I pulled in there yesterday morning, and they were just loaded up in there. They're holding on that hard bottom. It was a good hard bottom, and it made a point in the back of a pocket, which it was a big flat that pointed out, and it dropped off. It was only about a 2-foot drop, from 8 to 11 feet or whatever. So, and they were just stacked in one spot. You could catch little ones moving off, fishing around, but the big ones were in just one small area.
You know, that's one of them patterns that we always talk about as professional bass fishermen, just a hard bottom, whether it's shells, gravel, a lot of times just hard sand, and you have current that comes through there and it roughs up that bottom a little bit, and I'm sure you could feel it with that plug when it was bouncing off that.
Oh yeah, I was coming through, every now and then I'd come through some brush, but mostly it was just hard, like you said, hard bottom, and just bouncing, digging that crankbait, you know, down there, stirring up the bottom a little bit.
Let's look at your crankbait. Your choice of baits here was a Norman?
That's a Norman DD22, and I'm throwing it on 14-pound line, just throwing it as far as I can and winding it back pretty hard, so just getting that reaction bite.
Let's look at a little bit of this footage here, Keith, and I want you to talk to me about what's going on here. And you described this already. It's a little pocket or a bay, a little small bay, and the mussel bed's out in the middle of it.
Yeah, I'm just taking that crankbait, reeling it down to the bottom, keep it, you know, trying to make it erratic, draw just reaction strike, and I've got it marked, and I'm just throwing in one spot, making cast after cast in one spot. And they're just loaded up in there. Seems like almost every cast there.
That's a good fish.
Yeah, almost every cast there for a while.
Yeah, there you're marking marking where you want to keep
throwing that buoy out to the way off the spot where my fish are, so I can kind of get all that is a reference point.
Now during the first 2 days, let's say the first 2 days of qualifying, and on Friday, you caught a lot of your other fish on a tube, didn't you?
Right, yeah, that's my confidence bait. I love flipping a tube. When I can flip a tube, that's what I'll throw. If I can catch them shallow or catch them anyway, on a tube, that's what I love to throw, because I can land so many more fish on a tube.
High percentage
bait, and I can catch big fish on the tube, and that's what I did the first 2 days. I caught all my fish on the tube.
Let me see that bait that you used.
Okay, this is a 5.5 inch.
Big tube.
It's a big tube, and I like to throw a big tube because I can put a big hook in a big tube, and that's a big 5/0 stiff hook. There's not much give to it. I put it on 20-pound line, real heavy flipping stick, heavy action rod.
Quarter ounce weight. I just pop it off the bottom. I swim it off the bottom around the grass, and that big hook is the key to that bait, because I can really land a lot of fish. I can hook a 4-pounder in the cheek, in that cheekbone right here, where he won't come off with that hook right there.
Right.
So. Now you've had one other top 10 finish just recently here on Wheeler, haven't you?
Yeah, last February we fished the FLW on Wheeler, and I finished 5th in that one.
That's the one I won.
That's the one you won, and yeah, I'll never forget that day. And I was fishing. I caught my fish on a crankbait that day too, and I was fishing a different way. It was a totally different lake that time of year, and I was running up in a little creek. And in that creek, there was a feeder creek, and at the mouth of that feeder creek, it dropped off from maybe 5 to 10 or 12 feet. And I went back there and caught 2 more limits out of there, which gave me a top 5 finish.
I know that you're excited about going to the James River for the FLW Championship, and you did qualify to fish for $500,000.
Oh yeah, I just can't wait. I love fishing. I love fishing the rivers, and I've got all summer to go up there and practice and learn the river. It doesn't matter who I fish against.
That's right. That's the way I feel about it.
I will be prepared. If it was Kevin VANDAM or you or Rick Lund, you know, it just doesn't matter. I think I want to be prepared for this one.
Keith, I've known your dad for a long time, Jerry. He's one of the, what I call the really good river fishermen in Arkansas. And do you and him actually go out and fish together at all now? Or, I mean, do you go in the same area with 2 boats? Or?
It just depends. If it's a really big area, we might do that, especially like the Decatur Flats. We go out there and we'll fish, you know, within sight of each other and stuff like that. So yeah, we do fish together, but on most times we split up, and a lot of times we won't see each other at all during the day.
Do you and him still go fun fishing?
We do sometimes. We went to Greer's Ferry a few times this year just for fun of it. So we fished a little club tournament together not too long ago, but not near as much as we used to. We used to go all the time, you know. But
well, you know, it's good that you and him can go to tournaments together and spend time together and compare notes together. And I know that's got to be a good feeling when he's out there rooting for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's rooting for me and he's helped me out. I wouldn't have been this successful in these tournaments if it hasn't been for him. He's helped me out. He's put me on fish, you know, time after time, and he's really helped me out. So I can't thank him enough for that.
And when we come back, we'll go out on the water with 2nd place finisher Timmy Horton.
Here are results from the EverStart Series, the Central Division on the Red River in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Your winner, Sean Hornicky of Euless, Texas. He wins $10,000 and a Ranger boat. From the BFL, the Cowboy Division on Toledo Bend, Chris Wilkerson, Livingston, Texas is your winner. He had 14 pounds, 2 ounces. The BFL Michigan Division on St. Clair, the winner, Kevin VIDA of Clare, Michigan, with 17 pounds, 14 ounces. From results of all the tournaments in the FLW family, go to our website. It's flwoutdoors.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Walmart FLW Outdoors, looking back on the Forest Wood Open held in Florence, Alabama, and a big hometown crowd for one local angler.
That's right. Muscle Shoals' own Tim Horton electrified his fans all week long with some amazing stringers in this tournament. He earned a slot in his first ever FLW Top 10. Every time his name was announced in the weigh-in tent, the crowd went crazy. Here's a look at why his fans were so excited. On the water with Tim Horton.
Yes, it's pretty exciting being home and having friends and family close by that can come in and watch the weigh-in. But I think the nicest part is sleeping in your own bed. That's a rarity for us to be at a major event and be able to be at home, so it's pretty nice.
There he is. Oh, that's a good one, too. Stay hooked, fish. Come on. He ain't that good. He'll work. All right, number 1. About a pound and a half fish. You know, I've made about 15 casts here on my key spot this morning, and I hooked that one fish and lost it. But boy, getting the first one in the box really makes you feel better. Sometimes on a place like this, if you catch a few fish, it'll get them stirred up and they'll really go to biting. There he is. About the same size. We'll take him if he'll stay on there. This one's a little bit smaller. But number 2. Yeah, this is where I pulled up on the spot yesterday about 1 o'clock and caught 3 or 4 good fish really quick. I think this place is going to be better later in the afternoon, but if we can get a few fish off of it this morning, it'll be a bonus. Give me some on that, Alex. Woo! That one's a little better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that one's a little better. Not much better, but he is about a 2-pounder there. I pulled up, made about 20 casts to the spot, and I couldn't get bit. And like I said, that was the key, getting a few of those fish to bite to really get the school turned on. That still ain't the quality of the size fish that was on the spot yesterday, but maybe when they get to generating water, as TVA generates water later in the day, the bigger fish will pull up on it. There he is. That's a good one. No, little guy. No, it's a good one. Get in here, fish. All right. That's 4. It's 7:42, and I've got 4. that fish was a little better. That's the size I'm gonna have to have a chance to win this today. I know Aaron is really one of the most talented fishermen out here is Scott and Kevin and all this bunch, man. I tell you, it's bad enough to have to compete against these fish, but when you're competing against them guys, that makes it even worse. If I got 12, I'd have a chance, but if I got 14 or 15, I'd feel real good. And that's not a guaranteed win, but if I could get between 12 and 14, I would at least have a chance. But right now, I've only got probably about 7 or 8 pounds, so I've got a ways to go. You know, someone could pull up on a spot just like I did yesterday and have fishing real good for about 15 or 20 minutes. And if they do, they could, you know, catch 17 or 18 pounds. So, no lead to say, especially with the guys, you know, the caliber of fishermen that are right behind me. There he is. Number 5, come on, fish. Much to him, but he'll keep. We need some excitement here in the last hour if I'm gonna have a chance to win this thing. Gotta have a 3 or 4 pounder if I'm gonna have a chance.
That big fish never arrived, and Horton settled for second place, a mere 11 ounces behind Aaron Martins. Timmy Horton came up just short, but he still takes home a second place check good for $100,000. Well, let's talk about some of the rookies on the tour. We've had a lot of fun following a couple of the newcomers on the FLW Tour, and we had a great storyline for one of them.
The 2 anglers we followed are Vince Engel and Jeremiah Kindy, and both had a shot to make the top 100 and re-qualify for next year. When it came down to the final day, there was some real drama, some sadness, and some joy. Vince Engel and Jeremiah Kindy are rookies in name only. Both are highly successful tournament anglers who qualified for the FLW through the competitive EverStart series. Engel is a 51-year-old dentist from Maryville, Tennessee, and fishing is his favorite pastime. Kindy's only 25, just 8 years removed from high school in Benton, Arkansas, and he wants to fish for a living. Both had high hopes for their first season in the big leagues.
I really feel like what I'm expecting to do is to go out, have some good finishes, make the championship, pay for my entries next year, and go at it again. Just work from that and go at it.
I think I'm going to do good. You know, I've top 10 the last 6 out of 7 EverStarts, and you know, EverStarts are no pushovers. Those are no babies. You got some tremendous fishermen in the EverStart, and I know how it's done. I may be a rookie, but I'm not really a rookie.
Both got off to slow starts at Lake Okeechobee, finishing way down in the standings. At the Atchafalaya Basin, Jeremiah turned it around big time with a 27th place finish and his first check in an FLW event. As the season wore on, Vince improved his finish at each of the next 4 stops, but heading into Lake Wheeler still needed a strong showing to make the top 100 and re-qualify for 2004. Jeremiah was also on the outside looking in, but only had to move up 6 spots to crack the top 100. Going into the day 2 weigh-in at Wheeler, neither had sealed the deal. You need to have a pretty good showing to get in the top 100. Do you think you have it?
You know, probably not. I had it today. I just lost it.
Vince had a good bag, but ended up in 125th place and missed requalifying. Jeremiah was in better shape, much better. A strong day 1 gave him his first real shot at making an FLW top 10.
Jeremiah Kindy from Benton, Arkansas on the pro side, 14-6 yesterday. Another limit today. Mar, you're going to be so close.
I hope it. I hope I'm in it.
How'd you catch these, Jeremiah?
I caught most of them flipping and a few dragging a rig.
Dragging and flipping, a combination of those. Limit that weighs 12 pounds, 3 ounces, 26.9 is his total. That puts him in second place right now on the pro side.
For the next hour, Jeremiah and his wife Amber sat and watched as he slipped from second place to 10th place. Dale Teeney was one of the last pros to cross the stage.
Next on the pro side, Dale Teeney from Williamsburg, Ohio. 16 pounds, 7 ounces yesterday. Another limit today, Jeremiah Kindy at 26 pounds, 9 ounces. And it's going to be close. He's got a limit here that weighs 5 fish that weighs 11 pounds, 6 ounces, 27 pounds, 13 ounces. He is in. Jeremiah is out.
Jeremiah got bumped to 11th place by a single ounce. He still earned $15,000, but that ounce cost him a shot at $200,000. The great news is you make the top 100 easily and you fish again next year, so it's been a really good first year for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. I really am, because I need some revenge bad.
You finished strong, though, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was proud. I really didn't think I was on these kind of fish this week, but come to find out I was on enough fish to really do good and just had some missed opportunities.
The final tally on our FLW rookies, Vince Engel finished 125th. He cashed 2 checks and made $5,500. Jeremiah Kindy ended up in 77th place, cashing 3 checks worth just more than $24,000. And most importantly, comes back to fish the FLW Tour for a second year, never to be called a rookie again.
Our thanks to Vince and Jeremiah for all their help this year. The top finishing rookie on tour was the Wausau, Oklahoma's Tim Carroll. He finished 5th in championship standings.
Well, it's now the part of the program where you, the viewer, has an opportunity to ask our FLW pros for some advice. And this week's question comes from Jeff Enley of Petersburg, Virginia, who writes, how do pros go about narrowing down prime fishing spots at a lake they've never been to before? Well, Jeff, your answer comes from Stanley pro Scott Martin.
Well, Jeff, you know, there's a big thing going on in these tournaments and trying to find out where to fish. That's a big key to our fishing. I mainly start with a good topographical map. You can usually get those at the U.S. Geological Service. Call them up, get a good topo map. Find the creek channels. A lot of times, especially in the spring and in the fall, these fish like to run the creek channels and feed on fish. So a lot of times I'm finding the main creek runs in these lakes where they go back to the back of the creeks or out to the main points. Wherever the creek channels swing in and touch the points can be your best fishing spots on a lake, and it will help you find those prime fishing areas in a tournament.
Coming up next on FLW Outdoors, we'll take you through the exciting head-to-head format of the FLW Tour Championship. FLW Outdoors is brought to you by Minn Kota.
Welcome back to FLW Outdoors, and with me now I've got our grand champion, the big winner. And actually he finished 2nd last time we were here at Wheeler Lake. A tremendous tournament, Aaron Martins.
It was a great tournament, Larry. It was, everything went right. Everything has to go perfect in order to win one of these, you know? And it just, I mean, what a feeling. I mean, it was so close, too, you know, with Timmy and VANDAM winning and those good fish and other anglers. I never felt like that before. I had so much feeling there, you know, and it actually, once you win, it's like,
can't believe I did.
You can't believe it happened. I still haven't let it set in yet, but it was just an incredible tournament, my best ever.
Talk to me just a little bit about this spot. Was it would you call it a shell bed?
There was definitely a shell bed there, but more rock and timber that had laid it from the current bringing timber in. There's a lot of brush piles really close to it, and what happens when the current flowed hard, it concentrated my fish.
Yeah.
And this weekend, it flowed the whole time, but didn't ever flow really hard. We had a few times where it seems like they opened the gate or they let the water flow really good for only a couple hours. And when that happened, I could catch them really easy. But what happens when the water slowed down, like it did most of the time, a lot of my fish were really spread out.
Let's look here at a little bit of this footage because I wanna see this area now. Am I looking down river toward Decatur?
You're looking at,
actually looking down river?
Looking upriver there.
Looking upriver.
Yeah.
So you're throwing up current and letting the bank swing with the current back towards you.
Here I was retying, you know, I was trying to rig another rod up. I think this is where maybe I had a barge go by, and the bite really did turn on. It raised the water and dropped the water, and the fish really turned on good for about 5 minutes. I caught 3 fish.
This is pretty neat. You know, you can only fish with one rod at a time, but once you land that fish, you can actually throw another one out there and lay it down and then get your fish.
And that's what we did. You know, that's the smart thing to do. And
you had them going. They were excited.
Did I tell you, Larry? This is one of the most exciting tournaments I've ever had. It was just everything went perfect. The bite it suited my fishing abilities perfect. That's why I love to do this kind of fishing, and I can't tell you how much fun I had. It was a great tournament, and the end up winning doing it was just. I talk about just a neat tournament. It was just incredible.
I want to look at that Cinco here just a minute, if you would. Now here I go, a Kanabe, a flash.
It's a Kanabe flash.
Yeah, I'm used to saying a Cinco too because I had Gary Yamamoto up on the show last month at Kentucky Lake, and it's basically the same bait, but it's his son's company.
Yes.
And you're rigging it a little bit differently. Than Gary rigged it. Gary actually had a slip sinker on front of it, and you're throwing it Texas rigged with just a straight shanked worm hook.
Yeah, I wanted I have a 3/0 Gamakatsu round bend in there, and the reason I use that hook is because it's a kind of light wire. It's not a really heavy wire, and I wanted the bait to float as much as possible. And the heavy hooks seem to sink a lot faster.
You was more concerned with the current making the bait.
Pushing the bait, keeping it suspended as long as possible, yes.
Well, it was a nail biter. I know yesterday I was
really.
I can't imagine how you felt sitting up there with
sitting next to Timmy too.
Knowing Timmy had you by 2.5 pounds or thereabouts. And
well, Timmy was 10 feet from me. We kept looking at each other, smiling. And it was just like it came down to me, and I was like, Aaron, come with your fish. And I was like, 1 bass left. He has 2. It's normally when you have 2 fish left, you have your better ones. And I was like, oh no, there it goes, and he kept smiling towards me.
He has 2 fish that weigh 2 pounds, 12 ounces. Aaron Martins is their champion.
Them weigh-ins are exciting.
They are. They do them right. That's how it should be. It's exciting. I've been there a few times, and every time it's a pleasure to watch. Especially for the crowd. It's really neat.
Well, I want to congratulate you for winning the big one. You just did a heck of a job, and I know after 2nd place last time when I won over here that you're real happy with this tournament.
Oh, I'm very happy.
When we come back, we'll wrap up the season and look ahead to the 2003 FLW Championship, where somebody's going to win $500,000.
Here's an update from the RCL on Devil's Lake in Spirit Lake, North Dakota. The winner, Rick Walter of Casper, Wyoming. 24 pounds, 8 ounces, wins $50,000 plus a fully rigged Ranger boat. And in the RCL Walleye League in Isle, Minnesota, Chris Tuckner is the winner out of Hastings, Minnesota. 15 pounds, 6 ounces, netted $4,940.
And welcome back to FLW Outdoors. Looking back on the Forest Wood Open on Lake Wheeler. Larry, all building up to the FLW Championship, and again, head-to-head matchups this year.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you what, I've been to a lot of different type tournaments, and when you're only fishing against one guy, the odds are a lot better on you getting to move on into the next round, and to me, that's fun. That's just you and him.
Well, let's take a look now at that exciting format that'll be in the 2003 Jacobs Cup. Head-to-head matchup style fishing is back. Head-to-head championship fishing is back and better than ever in this year's 2003 Jacobs Cup. The season-ending FLW Tour Championship offers $1.5 million to the top 48 anglers from the regular season. The top point earner gets number 1 seed and will face number 48. Number 2 meets number 47, and so on down the list. Here are some of the highlight matchups for September. We'll start with our broadcast partner, Larry Nixon, against Chris Elliott. The two shared the stage after Elliott's Lake Murray win. They'll share the first round as well. 2 members of the Fuji team will face each other when 9th seed Randy Blockett meets 40th seed Wesley Strader. And how about this battle of former Anglers of the Year? 3 seed Kellogg's Pro Clark Wendlandt will face off against Stanley Pro David Walker, the 46th seed. As you can see, the individual matchups make the Jacobs Cup exciting. The goal of the anglers is to survive the head-to-head matchups in the first 2 rounds to make the final 12, where we open it up for all to chase the $500,000 first place prize.
Just to get the chance to fish for $500,000 wild, it's great to live in the United States of America.
For the anglers, the thought of $500,000 as a first place prize is thrilling.
Can you imagine winning $500,000?
That really would be pretty fun.
I can't, I mean, this...
How many spinnerbaits you could buy?
Lord have mercy.
I'll tell you what, that's huge for our sport, you know, I mean, to go out there, and I mean, it took me a long time to win $1 million, or better than 10 years to win $1 million, and to win half of that in one tournament would be unbelievable.
As you can tell, it's a big event for the anglers and also a big event for the fans. Mark the dates on your calendar. The Jacobs Cup, September 10th through the 13th in Richmond, Virginia. You'll see history when one angler walks away with the FLW Tour Championship and a $500,000 payday.
When FLW Outdoors returns, we'll have a lot of fun looking back at the 2003 season.
Been a fixture on stage in
Okay.
Yep.
Ready.
FLW Outdoors is presented. Here's a look at the final team standings for the 2003 season. Jim Moyna helped Team Lowry's capture the title in their first year as a sponsor on the FLW Tour. Followed closely by Team Stanley, anchored by Scott Martin. Next is the always colorful Fuji team, followed by Kellogg's, Snickers, and Castrol, rounding out the top 6. Welcome back to FLW Outdoors, where we are wrapping up our final regular season event from Florence, Alabama, but we're also wrapping up our regular season on the FLW Tour this year.
Well, Larry, first of all, Dan Morehead was on our show about as much as you were. He had a phenomenal year, and we saw a lot of him.
That's true. You know, I had him on my show 3 different times. I've also had Steve Kennedy, Chris Elliott, Keith Williams. All these young kids are just catching fish so good.
Elliott and Kennedy are 2 of the winners on tour, and it's tough to come up and win your first event, isn't it?
That's right, and you know, I don't think Steve made the championship. Chris, I think he made it. In fact, I'm going to be paired against him. So, you know, it's been a fun season interviewing all these young kids.
We had fun all season long. We'll have some more fun right here at the end. Here is a fun and fast-paced look back at FLW Outdoors 2003.
We have our new leader. Another monster keeper. 4 pounds, 3 ounces. And he still has it away. Let's fast out there
Hallelujah! The fans are roaring.
Thank you, baby. High five.
All right.
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Is that over? Yep. Here we go. Is that over?
Look at that. Check that sucker out. Ball game, baby. Yes. Yes. Oh, come on to the net.
Ready.
I mean, it was just
on in
Live.
Cue card. And we got 2 events left this.
Can you not see what we're doing?
He's not right.
That's what. Are you sure you want to get it? Oh, never done it before. On the lip.
Yuck. There. I seen him do it on TV. Didn't know it tasted that bad. My wife says, "Oh, that smells horrible." I said, "That's a smell of money right there." Smell of money. Ooh, what's that? I missed that one. Oh, sorry about that. Fish looks like me, short and fat.
He may be short, but he sure is pretty.
You want to see a streak naked down the length of the boat?
Well, you did a pretty good job. I mean, winning 6th is not winning, but you better do better than that next time or you're in trouble.